This is Luke Connor with LongRangeOnly.com. Today we're going to be discussing the Zeiss Conquest V6 5 to 30 by 50. So I've been using this Zeiss scope now for a little bit over 5 months. My initial impressions of it, when I first opened out of the package, comes very nice packaging. We'll show some pictures of that later. That is a lightweight scope. For a long-range hunting rifle scope, out of the box, your first impressions is you pick this up and you're like, wow, this thing can go on just about any gun in my gun safe right there without crushing a lightweight rifle. So Zeiss claims the weight on this is 27.9 ounces. I actually weighed this one on my scale and I got 27.5 ounces. For a 5 to 30 by 50 optic, for what this is, that is extremely lightweight for what this scope is used for. It has 62 minutes of internal travel on the elevation and 34 on the windage. I know people are going to be like 62 minutes isn't a lot, but I had this scope mounted on 2 different rifles. Personally, I had it on a 6.5 Creedmoor in a Christian Sonar's Mesa, relatively lightweight rifle, pretty short. I didn't feel that this scope was overbearing on it. I also had it on a Cooper Model 52 280 AI. I had no problems with both rifles shooting out to 1100 yards with the internal adjustment. This is a hunting scope. This is not an ELR scope. This is a hunting scope. And I had no issues with the internal travel whatsoever. I think it's plenty for what it is. There was a few things that struck me right away when I mounted this scope up. I put it on the Christensen arms. I took it out. It was almost dark. This thing has amazing light gathering capability. We've all known Zeiss optics for the last several years. They've been around for a long time. They've kind of had a reputation for being super bright scopes. This thing did not disappoint in that realm, especially when you get into 30 power. A lot of times you get these bigger objective scopes, they just get darker and darker the higher you turn them up. I did not see that so much on this one. So I want to talk about some of the things I really liked and a couple things that weren't my favorite, but some of that applies to my shooting style and what I do. The overall size and weight, to me, is the #1 advantage of this scope. You have a 5 to 30 optic with exposed turrets. You have a true, dedicated, long-range hunting scope. Glass, as good as anything on the market right now, in my opinion. I've looked through several scopes, way more expensive than this one, some less expensive. This thing leaves nothing on the table as far as glass is concerned. The one thing that I wasn't super stoked about is its 5 to 30 optic. It is second focal plane. We're not going to get into discussion of first focal plane versus second focal plane. But the reticle, this has the Z MOA reticle, 1 minute subtensions. The reticle on this one is only correct on 25 power. And they put a dot on 25 power so you can make sure that you line it up to get your reticle correct. I almost wish they would have just made it a 5 to 25 or just put the subtensions correct at 30. You'll see in one of the videos where I was shooting in pretty low light, I'm searching, I'm looking over the rifle and I'm trying to find my 25 power because I am home wind. We got a little bit of breeze that night. I'm home 2-3 minutes of wind. In order to get my reticle to work correctly, I need to be on 25 power. That's not a deal breaker. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. A lot of people dial for wind. If you dial for wind, this is going to be a non-issue for you. That's just one of the things. It's probably the only thing really that I would have liked to have seen changed on this optic.
You dial 11?
Got it. Okay. How far is this?
585.
So, back to the specs for just a second here. I'm not a spec guy. I've used this scope. I've shot hundreds of rounds through this scope on a couple different rifles now. This is what's important to me. The fact that it's 14.9 inches long and it weighs 27.9 ounces, that to me is the most important thing. The 62 minutes of travel is enough. It's not excessive. Like I said earlier, shot both rifles out to just about 1,100 yards, no issues. 34 windage, you get the rifle sighted in. If you're dialing 20 minutes of wind, you're a way better shooter than I will ever be. Okay, so me as primarily a hunter and secondary a shooter, here's what I like about this optic. The lightweight, the glass, and this is a versatile scope. This thing can go on your 6-pound 6.5 Creedmoor all the way up to a 338 Lapua. Long Range Only has had this scope here for a while now. This thing's been on a couple 338 Lapuas. It's killed a pile of elk. It's been on a couple 300 Win Mags. I had it on 280 on a 6.5. I really don't see this scope doing one thing better than the other. You can turn it down to 5 power. You can walk into a set of timber. In Alaska here, you can walk into an alder thicket. You can see what you're shooting at, but yet you still have a 30 power optic that dials and controls perfectly. I've shot this thing a bunch. I've tracked perfect, returned to zero perfect. Up here, we're not exactly easy on our stuff, not on purpose. This thing's been in the wind, it's been in the rain, it's been knocked over. So far, no issues. It's been rock solid. I've never questioned the integrity of the mechanical ability of this thing. Another advantage I see to a scope with this much variable power is when you get into the 30 power and you don't lose any lens or clarity or color problems at all, this thing looks just as good on 5 power as it does on 30. For you sheep hunters out there, or you guys going in super light, you could probably almost leave your spotting scope at home. You have a 30 power spotting scope bolted on your rifle that has no degradation in lens clarity whatsoever. That to me is a major advantage of this particular scope, is having that high a magnification. And everybody wants to carry less stuff. I want to carry less stuff. Most of the time I carry way more stuff than I need. You can almost leave your spotting scope at home depending on the area and where you're hunting. This thing has amazing ability with super clarity at really high power. So in my opinion, overall this scope, I think this scope's great. I think it would go great on any rifle in my gun safe. I would have no problem putting it on anything that I own. I like how versatile it is. I like how lightweight it is. It has enough features on it that it does what it needs to do. It really lacks nothing. I talked about the little thing with the 25 power and the reticle correct. I don't want that to be a deal breaker for some people. Like I said, that's my shooting style. That's what I do. You have an exposed windage chart right here that you can totally use on any power, and the thing is going to run correct and track true. There's no doubt about it. So thanks for joining us today for the review of the Zeiss. Check us out on longrangeonly.com or on Facebook, on Instagram. We also have a YouTube channel where all these videos are posted with real people using real gear in real world shooting situations.